This is Pete, where we talk about everything cryptocurrencies. And today, actually, I have a special guest in, and he's going to actually be talking about a brand new project in the crypto world. He's going to clarify a little bit more on how the cryptocurrencies get started, maybe kind of what they are. A very, very knowledgeable person on that subject. And he's actually a part of a big new project that he's going to talk to us about. Introduce yourself and in a few minutes let us know what your background is in the cryptocurrency.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me, Pete. I truly appreciate it. I've obviously heard a lot about you, and you're certainly someone who has got quite the integrity in this community, trying to build awareness and really do the right thing. So, definitely keep doing what you're doing. On the other hand, let me quickly also give a little bit on myself and my background. I was born and brought up in the Middle East. My father is a doctor to the King of Oman. I came to the United States, studied finance, moved to New York, where I was a stockbroker for the first couple of years. Then I worked for AllianceBernstein for a number of years. Basically for the last 2 decades, I've been involved in financial services. I transacted close to 1.5 billion in Facebook stock. I was involved in Twitter and LinkedIn as well. I was involved with AT&T Building in Chicago. I was involved with the Plaza, the Dream, the Grosvenor House Hotel, which is out in London. All these properties were refinancings, and the gentleman who had owned those properties had basically run a Ponzi scheme, and the Indian government had imposed upon him the largest bail in human history, which was actually set at 1.6 billion. So don't ask me how it happened. Somehow I landed in the middle of the deal with the responsibility to basically restructure and refinance these assets. Spent a lot of time, met a number of influential folks. The transaction was nearing its end. And obviously, like in any Shakespearean play, there's a war of words, all sorts of drama. Nobody likes their assets stripped against their will from them. So needless to say, we sued them for defamation. And, we settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. The entire episode generated over 150,000 articles. I was on Wall Street Journal and CNBC. But all that limelight and spotlight was quite the emotional toll on me. Once we settled out of court, I decided to retire for a little while. I moved down to South Florida. I started investing in defensive sectors because my focal point became more about wealth preservation rather than, wealth appreciation. So with that as the concept, urgent cares, pharmacies, substance abuse, mental health treatment centers was an industry our fund started to take an intensive interest in. Simultaneously, we started addressing social issues around the world. Obviously, here in the United States, opioid epidemic is a very major concern. However, on planet Earth, there are other major concerns brewing at the same time. One being waste surplus, and the other being energy shortfall. So about 3 years ago, the concept of waste to energy was presented to me. And I immediately liked the fact that it's not just one social entrepreneurialism. It's really two separate, segments of the planet that you're going after: waste surplus, energy shortfall. So, really that was the genesis. But before I move any further, do you have any questions, Pete, in regards to my background thus far?
That's awesome. That's just wanted you to take a few minutes, kind of introduce to the public who you are, what you've been a part of.
There's a saying in finance that finance, controls all or finance, supersedes all other industries, partially because every business, every industry is in seek of funds, because it's the funds that brings the industry or the company into existence. So, with that said, being that finance commands all industries, waste to energy is a brilliant idea. First of all, you're accepting waste in. The waste is then put through an internal combustion chamber, like a pressurized internal combustion chamber. So once you combust these various types of waste, what ends up happening is it converts it to electricity along with byproducts. The electricity is it converts it to gases. The gases rise, they turn the turbines, and the turning turbines generates the power, the electricity. So that, in a nutshell, is the process of taking waste in and converting it to electricity. The technology itself has actually been around a long time. United States had its first waste to energy treatment plant installed in 1903. That plant is actually still running, and that would put it at about 115 years to be exact. There's over 71 waste to energy plants here in the United States. There's about 16 in United Kingdom. There's about 80 in Europe. And India just ordered 100 of them. There's a bunch in Australia, and there's a bunch in China. So this is not something new in regards to coming up with a concept. What's new, however, is the application of the business idea. And we'll get into that in a minute. And really, that's what makes this so revolutionary. Before I proceed any further, I also want to highlight a massive problem, a third problem that is that's literally sucking the planet dry, for lack of a better word. This third problem is, believe it or not, crypto. When I was introduced to crypto and I was introduced to blockchain, it's just beautiful. I mean, you're talking about art, and it's art in code. It's ones and it's zeros, but it's beautiful. And what it facilitates and what it creates for the new age is just mind-numbing. I mean, this is a new way of transacting and connecting with people. However, what people are not observant of enough is the amount of power it's consuming, because all those block confirmations that are happening to provide an immutable, auditable, general ledger that the public can view at any time. Well, all those computers that are confirming those transactions are using up electricity. If you observed one Bitcoin transaction consumes as much power as 7.5 households in the United States do for a day. That was September 30th. Today, literally, about 6 months later, less than 6 months later, that number is 29.7 as of this morning. So, and if I gave you milestones on each month, I mean, you'd see the graph just shooting up like that. And as more and more people come on, I just expect this number to keep on exponentially rising. So, really, when I looked at this problem, I said, well, what's someone doing about it?
That's one of the biggest things I'm seeing out there as well is the energy cost is going up. And you just pinpointed like the three couple major problems in the world. As somebody who recognizes these issues is working on solutions for this, So that, of course, on its own is a big undertaking. It's just amazing how you're able to actually provide solution for this.
Let me articulate a little bit before I delve into what is it that Fornew does, or what is it that the KWatt coin does. For starters, the first law of thermodynamics, which is a law of physics, states that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply transforms itself from one form to another. Mm-hmm. Therefore, all the energy we ever need is available right here. We just got to figure ways to harness it and use it. So having said that, once we saw, okay, here you have a supply chain of waste and energy, and you can do all these cool things. Initially, the thought process was simple. Let's raise some funds and let's put a plant and let's sell the energy to a national grid. There's currently a 40% energy shortfall, globally speaking. So to us, it was pretty logical. Secondly, the revenue that is collected from processing the waste, that revenue is so significant that the entire plant runs at break even. So what that basically means is all the energy that you're producing is free energy or pure profit. So, that was our focal point. We raised some conventional funding, roughly $35 million. It's been amazing in that regard. And then as we got to learn more about crypto and its energy consumption, what we realized was the black hole nature of crypto. And really, the world of crypto mining opened up to us. And it's really in that moment we realized that as producers of energy, and this is a very important distinction because there's a lot of energy tokens out there in the crypto space, but not one of them is a producer of energy. They're all exchanges, and therefore they're middlemen, right? The true source of power is a power plant. None of them are power plants. We are the only ones out there. So having said that, our power, we decided to apply towards crypto mining. And in doing that, what we observed we would be able to do is a few things. Number one, we would be able to drive the profit stream from 10x by selling to a national grid to 100x. Just because crypto transaction fees cost whatever they cost on a per Bitcoin or a per Ether basis, and you know a thing or two about, when you transact with Bitcoins and Ethers, networks seem to be busy all the time. Gas limits are going up, costs are going up, and seems like miners are making all the money in this business. So those amounts are going up because the amount of electricity being used is increasing. And so what people don't realize is part of the hash rate that people talk about in your transaction fees or whatever the transaction fees are, a portion of that fee is actually allocated to the energy consumption. So it's no less, it's basically your electricity bill that's being paid. So for us to take our energy and apply towards crypto mining, we have a few benefits or advantages. One, we can standardize and normalize transaction fees. Those spike ups that you see like crazy during during the time frame of high transactional activity, because it's our own source of energy, we can normalize that. So that's one strong positive. The second strong positive is by having our own energy, we don't need to, our output can actually sustain the entire ecosystem without causing a burden on the grid. This is an important distinction. The grid is already 40% shortfall, right? That means there are parts in every country where they don't get enough power in a day. And on top of that, we add crypto mining to it. That gap at the rate at which it's exponentially growing will just, exponentially widen to something else. So from our perspective, we really are looking to redefine three industries: waste, energy, and crypto. And this is what gave birth to the concept of the K-Watt coin. The K-Watt coin at its very core is a kilowatt coin. And it's an ERC20 token. And the token is a smart contract, which basically means that the holder of the token has a power purchase agreement with the power plant. This was historically only available to the big boys. Now, thanks to the blockchain, we can fragment it down to the most basic unit, which is 1 kilowatt. And each token is embodied within it 1 kilowatt. So it's pegged with 1 kilowatt of electricity, which is, by the way, our goods and services that we're selling. So we're not even a security token. We would be a utility token. Now, this token can be applied at our mining farm, and the energy can be staked for our miners to basically consume. So at the end of each quarter, the electric bill, which was historically paid to the national grid or the power plant, will now be paid to the token holder. So what we have successfully done, which no one else has, is we've literally put power in the hands of the people.
Or allowing regular people to actually be a part of this, right? To actually, participate in this. Now, talk a little bit about ICOs. Like, why did you decide to put this into a form of an ICO? And maybe somebody out there might not fully understand what an ICO is. And just just a couple of minutes, just kind of explain what it is and how people can actually participate and what kind of solution is it bringing to the marketplace.
Absolutely. So just a couple of things. Firstly, most people flock to ICOs for fundraising. We didn't flock to the ICO for fundraising. We already had 35 million in equity dollars raised prior to our ICO even beginning. With the 35 million that we had raised from conventional funding, we can easily procure bank debt for the balance 80%, and more or less 120 to 140 million dollars would be available to us to set up a power plant. The reason we came to an ICO is because what the blockchain allows us to do is really fragment our output. So let me explain that to you. Our power plant, and we have two sites. One is in Dreffield, United Kingdom. The other is in Sheffield, United Kingdom. The site in Dreffield, United Kingdom goes live in June 2018. So in about 3.5 months. In fact, if you go to the website, you will see a drone footage of the site that is about to go live. It's a 5-acre piece of property with a maximum output capacity of 20 megawatts per hour. The second site is in Sheffield, which is probably about 12 months away from completion. And that site is a 30-acre site. Both these sites will have mining farms on site. So the mining farm is positioned right next to the power plant. So we don't even have to have long transmission lines or anything like that. Literally, the mining farm is plugged to the power source. Having said that, these two sites in total produce up to 60 megawatts per hour. One site at 20, the other side at 40. Just to put it in perspective, Bitmain, which is the largest mining operation globally, all right, which basically 2.5 years ago came into existence, roughly speaking. They consume approximately 62, 65 megawatts per hour amongst all their mining facilities. All right, so more or less a number close to what our output capacity would be. As of 2017, the profits they posted, are you ready for this number?
Drop it, brother.
$4 billion. $4 billion, 1 year's profit.
Wow.
So this goes to show you the reward potential and the revenue potential. So what we decided was, by putting the token, or by putting the electricity in the token, really what we are able to do is fragment something which historically couldn't be done. So let me break it down. 40 megawatts per hour, 1 megawatt is equals to 1,000 kilowatts. Okay, so 1,000 kilowatts multiplied by 40 would be 40,000 kilowatts. That's per hour output capacity. Now you multiply that by 24 hours in a day, and you multiply that by 365 days, and what you get is a number approximately 300 million kilowatts. 300 million kilowatts, therefore we launched 300 million coins, pegging each coin with 1 kilowatt. Now, all the unsold tokens at the end of the ICO will be burned. So theoretically, if only half of the supply was sold, that would mean only 150 coins sold, the other 150 coins burnt, 150 million coins burnt. What that would leave is, just because the coins are burnt, the energy is still there, the electricity is still there. So we would double up the token with kilowatts. So at the end of the ICO, you go from a 1 kilowatt to a 2 kilowatt coin. Now, obviously, 2 kilowatts drives more revenue because each kilowatt is roughly 15 cents. So if you've got 2 kilowatts, that's roughly 30 cents in terms of electricity bill. So if you own only 1 kilowatt, that coin is priced at $1.50 as of an hour ago. So $1.50. Now you've got 30 cents of electricity bill that's being paid to you. The coin represents a lifetime supply of electricity.
Now, is that for a month?
That's so it's on a per kilowatt basis, right? And on each quarter. So let's say if you bought 1,000 kilowatts.
Okay.
That would mean every quarter you can either stake 1,000 kilowatts or you cannot, right? It's up to you. So let's say you chose to stake it. What that means is you would loan these 1,000 kilowatts that you have to the blockchain, okay? Our blockchain that is under development. Then what's going to happen is, let's say I am the miner and I need to process 1,000 kilowatts worth of power. I would be paying you an electricity bill for having used your 1,000 kilowatts. Then I can only use it once because it's only 1,000 kilowatts. At the end of the quarter, you get it back. Then you put it back up again. I use it again. And so it'll be a quarterly payout, not a daily or a monthly payout. It's just too much to manage on a monthly basis. So, quarterly is the way we went. If I had to do this in a conventional sense, I would have had to sign 300 million contracts. 300 million contracts would, 300 million contracts would take forever. I wouldn't be able to get anything accomplished. That's all I'd be doing, managing contracts. So what the blockchain allows us to do is create a mechanism via which we can actually put the power in the hands of the masses. And what that allows us to do is create a coin, a currency that is so successful or popular that the market cap of the currency goes through the roof. And really, that's where I want to make, my personal wealth. I want to pursue a successful coin because that's going to be more than anything else, any other cash flow stream can generate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And he just explained how 4new ICO separates from any other ICO out there, because a lot of these ICOs there's like no way to hide. Some of these are just scams, they just raise money and they give people nothing and then they disappear,
Absolutely. There's too much Mickey Mouse Clubhouse going on out there. And
Right.
if I shared with you some of the ideas that have been presented to me, I mean, my jaw dropped, and I'm going to spare taking any names over here. But there's some interesting stuff going on out there. And surely this is, when I look at the industry at the moment, it's not wrong for SEC to come in hard. There's a lot of cash grabbing going on, and it's really sad. And I think everyone who is watching the show must do their due diligence. There's absolutely no financial advice or anything of that sort being suggested here. Do your research, do your due diligence. At the end of the day, a passenger is responsible for his own baggage.
Amazing backing to the company, and the ICO, of course, is going to have massive utility in the marketplace. There's always the question of, what's the probability of this, this ICO being successful? Because in the ICO phase, you're usually dealing with tokens, and it's only considered a coin when it officially launches, like to the main exchanges where it can be traded and sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your probability of this coin actually becoming, or this token becoming a coin? And what's your, kind of say time frame where you see this coin actually launch to the exchanges where it can actually be traded?
So I'm going to answer that in two parts. One, I'll have to be a little discreet about, because we are currently in the process of attaining regulatory approvals. But upon attaining those regulatory approvals in the next couple of weeks, what we would have created in essence is the first, as much as I'm itching to share it, I'm going to refrain on that one, because it would be, the strategy is so disruptive that I don't think crypto has quite figured it out yet. I think there's a lot of lawyers scratching their heads wondering what SEC is going to say before they can start advising their clients on what's the prudent way of positioning yourself in this space. So a lot of people are just taking the approach of wait and see. So having said that, I've been a student of finance, been a student of this business. I've studied a lot. I know all the rules and regulations. Well, not all, but most. As it attains to securities laws and registrations. So from a real world business practices, tactics, and strategies, I can tell you there are ways of doing this where you're 100% compliant with SEC, you're fully reporting for more or less, lack of a better word, a publicly listed company. Obviously it requires approvals before I share too much on this strategy. And make it too publicly known as to what I'm talking about. But I'm going to leave it at that. And we're certainly pursuing those avenues. So I know for a fact by the time the ICO is done, not only would we have disrupted waste, energy, and crypto, but you could also say legal and compliance in terms of strategies and how to set things up within the crypto space. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of copycats thereafter. Funnily speaking, there's a lot of copycats on the KWatt name since we came up with it. The concept of tokenized electricity and the thinking behind it seems to be one that's being emulated by a lot of energy exchanges out there. So, like they say, imitation is the best form of flattery. So it's certainly, it's good to see the industry copying, our thought process like that. Anyways, but coming back to the point, the ICO does end March 31st. There are a number of things that are in the pipeline between now and then. We're going to start announcing these things very soon as we get to the end of the ICO. There are some very big institutions coming on board. We have already received LOIs from them. Let's just say they are marquee pedigree names out of Silicon Valley, names that everyone would recognize as household names. That might be one place, one set of announcements. We also have some blockchains that we are working with. We will be doing a fork off of an already existent blockchain that is already listed on a bunch of exchanges. By doing a fork off of one of these solutions allows us to also pursue, again, I don't want to speculate or set any expectations, but let's just say there are things in motion that will allow us to address the question that you just asked a few minutes ago about, when it becomes a coin. And finally, I think this coin would be a lot different from others. This is not just, the concept of store of value in Bitcoin is awesome, but let's be candid. The only value it's storing is branding. right? At the end of the day, a bunch of people know about Bitcoin. It's got very nice branding, and that's what gives it the store of value. You can move it around. However, our store of value is a little bit different. Our store of value actually has energy associated with it, and that to a lifetime of it. So I think once the masses understand what is it that we're talking about, because there is still some awareness that we have to help them create, or help them understand and get their minds around. I think people are not going to want to sell this thing. So you're going to get this approach of, like they call it in crypto, hodling. You know, you're gonna see everyone hodling on this coin, and my problem is going to be how to infuse liquidity in a coin that nobody wants to sell. Because great, you're listed on an exchange, but somebody's got to move some things around in order for the coin to have volume and a price. But those are all the things I'm working on, and as much as I'm itching to share them with you today, I would want to refrain until the end of the ICO to start announcing them. I got to leave some juice behind in the aftermarket trading as well.
Or what's the circulating supply that is going to be capped off?
So our max supply is 300 million tokens, and that was because of 300 million kilowatts. So each coin is at 1 kilowatt. However, as the ICO is over, we'll burn off whatever's not sold, and we'll peg all of the power to whatever the supply is. Also, any future plants that we set up, or any future joint venture affiliations that we create, all of that power is going to get pegged to this coin. So therefore, as we go through life, this coin will not just be a kilowatt coin. It'll be a 1 kilowatt coin today, but it becomes a 2 kilowatt coin, then a 3 kilowatt coin, then a 4 kilowatt coin. And really, I foresee, my goal here, let's just put it, is to put a lot of kilowatts in the coin, because that means that much more cash flow. That means that much more store of value. And really, that means that much more market cap to the currency.
Looking at the current market with all the cryptocurrencies, I mean, you can look at some of these bigger supplies, like let's take Ripple, for instance. What is it, number 3 of all cryptos? And its current circulating supply is like 39 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
It's crazy.
And,
Yeah.
And it's like it went from $1 to $2. It took a little dip, but when we're talking about a limited supply of like 300 million, that's just supply and demand, where we know it's most likely.
And it's not even going to last that way. I mean, tell you the truth, between the two plants, one plant is at 40, the other plant's at 60. So, other plant's at 20. So the total is 60 megawatts per hour. So if I took 60 megawatts per hour, and if I multiplied it by 24 and I did my math that I explained earlier, what you come up with is 450 million kilowatts. So if I only had 150 coins at the end of my ICO, technically speaking, each token has 3 kilowatts pegged to it, right? So immediately you went from a 15 cent per kilowatt cash flow to 45 cent per kilowatt cash flow on a coin that's only selling for $1 in the sale round that just ended. So now it's at $1.50. So, the point is, as we reach the end, I'm getting better visibility on what the final supply of the currency will look and feel like. Pete, there's one more point I just want to highlight. So my battery is at 2%, and I didn't realize that. So it will all of a sudden shut down at some point.
Okay.
So let me kind of put these, thoughts out there. Plant goes live in June. We will be in San Francisco for Token Fest. We have platinum sponsors there. We will also be in Dubai as platinum sponsors. We will also be in Shanghai as platinum sponsors. All this is scheduled between March 14th, 15th through till April 14th, 15th. So for a whole month, we'll be globetrotting. If any of your audience happens to be in any of those cities or in those locales, please be sure to stop by, meet the team. Our team has over 300 years of experience. We have Peter Teasdale, who's a 35-year veteran of having operated waste-to-energy treatment plants. And if you go through the website, you'll see all those other players. A lot of them are very accomplished. Obviously, I personally have never run a waste-to-energy plant, but I'm not the waste-to-energy plant operator. I'm more of a finance guy who acts as a catalyst and helps put various things together. But on that note, Pete, allow me to depart. I'm left at 1%. Do you have any other questions before this thing shuts down?
Just one. So who can participate in the coin? Can anybody actually be a part of this project?
Yes, anyone can be a part of this project, even within the United States. We are only accepting accredited investors at the moment. However, with certain regulatory strategies that I was hinting at earlier, prior to this ICO ending, it should be open to all US investors. So even though they may not be able to participate this second in the event they're unaccredited, please be on standby, be part of the email list. We'll keep you updated, and as soon as we open up to everyone, welcome aboard at that point.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, I appreciate your time, brother, and thanks for coming on here and shedding some light on the whole project, what you're doing, the solutions you're providing, and giving average people a possibility to actually be a part of a project like this and actually be able to invest into something like this that can actually probably give amazing return on their investment in the long run.
Absolutely.
Hey, I appreciate everybody kind of got a gist of the whole operation. The thing with the ICOs is a lot of them are backed by nothing or something they claim that it's backed by, right? And another thing is a lot of ICOs are copycats, like Saransh mentioned, right? So they'll look at the project, they'll try to copy it, which will just be, the next best thing in their eyes, but it doesn't always come out as compliant and as successful, right? And from what we heard, the supply and demand with a coin like this will be it'll be in big demand, right? In which case it can really draw up the price. As I was saying, like Ripple's, share my screen here. That is number 3 cryptocurrency on the whole marketplace, right? And it's currently took a dip, like a lot of cryptos did, right, down to 90 cents. But the thing is it's circulating supply is 39 billion. That's why it only averaged from under $1 to it went actually past $2 not too long ago. So when you're talking about something that only has 300 million supply, the demand will be higher because there's not as many coins to go around, right? So with 4new, the project is pretty massive. It's providing solutions for other cryptocurrencies, right? For other currencies that are going to be mined in their operations. They're providing energy. They're cutting back energy costs because, from mining Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, you need a lot of energy, right? And that's the biggest, aspect with mining and providing new, say, cryptocurrency to the marketplace, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on, right? So with 4new project providing its own energy, right? So they have no energy cost as far as the company goes, from what I understood, right? So that's allowing them to stay in business for the long run, right? Because as energy prices go up, a lot of these plants can go out of business, or a lot of these mining companies that can no longer afford, right, to mine cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, 4new is going to be one of those self-sustained, and it's going to provide more and more solutions to the marketplace, but also it's going to drive the value of its coin up, right? You're holding a part of a share of a company, right? But it's in the form of an ICO, right? In the cryptocurrency world, we'll call it an ICO. So you're able to buy as many of these as you want. And when the value of these ICOs go up, you can cash in at any time as long as it's launched to an exchange, right? And it's actually a public exchange, right? So with that being said, I also wanted to kind of show you the main website of 4new, right? The biggest thing with ICOs that from my experience, is compliance, right? And transparency. And as you can see at the main website here under team, Saransh Sharma is the president of this project. Okay. So from my experience, I've been a part of some of these ICOs, and you go to their main website and they'll have pictures and names, but they're not necessarily real pictures, right? There'll be people, but you don't know if they're actually real people or they just putting up a bunch of pictures. And a lot of these ICOs or projects, you don't even know who's behind them, if there's actual real people. But the fact that the president is publicly going out there and talking to the public, telling you about the project, if this was a scam or some kind of Ponzi scheme, right? These guys will be the first to go to jail, right? Because they're out there, right? They're on the on the public pages, right? And you just saw that, you know, Saransh actually came live online for you on this video. And that just proved that it's real people. And to me, that's really important, compliance and transparency. So that just tells me that these guys are real, they're doing the work, and they're putting their face out there, right? When the company owners or the, you know, the presidents who are involved in the project are putting their face out there to the public, they're not afraid of, you know, getting in trouble, because they're trying to stay compliant and trying to be totally transparent with what they're doing, what it's going to bring to the marketplace, the utility of their project or of this coin, and what For New is doing for us and how we can be a part of it, right? And the main thing here is positioning, right? It's getting on the ground level of something new and tremendous that can really grow your investment, right? If you decide to be a part of this. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this kind of level of transparency. And I was just happy to get somebody like Saransh Sharma on this video call. And he, you know, hopefully shed some light on the project. Hopefully you can understand like what they're doing. And also maybe you got a clear picture of what ICOs are and how they're so powerful when they have a utility and a backing of something like what For New is doing, and, you know, as a project, right? It becomes a physical thing, right? Because they actually have plants that provide energy and solve issues in this world, right? So their ICO, their coin, can only go up in value as I see it. Of course, there's never any guarantees. There's always a risk with everything that you invest into, especially when it's in the pre-launch phase of a new development or a company. Personally, myself, I'm going to do what I can to get as much of these ICOs in the pre-launch phase, which are currently at about 150 right now, and the price will only go up, especially when it hits the exchanges and goes live, which, you know, they're saying probably by the second quarter of 2018, which is pretty exciting. And at this point, it's all about how big your return on investment can be from this and the proper positioning. So with that being said, here's your chance, I guess, to position yourself if you want to be a part of this. There should be a link in the bio that will give you the opportunity to get set up with them and be a part of this. Okay, so it can take you directly to a page that will give you some more information. Whatever stage it's at, the link in my bio there will kind of give you further instruction on that, right? With that being said, this was Pete. Be sure to subscribe. I will see you in the next video with some more information on For New and other, you know, projects and other cryptocurrency news where you can position yourself and get an amazing ROI. Imagine if you were able to invest into Bitcoin when it was like $1, right? Let's say Bitcoin only went up to 1,000 and no more than that, right? Because as we know, Bitcoin has a lower supply, right? So the demand is bigger. But there again, let's say you invested into Bitcoin back when it was like at the beginning stages. Like imagine where you would be right now, right? You'd probably be a multi-millionaire, right? Depends on how many of those coins you bought. So here's one of those opportunities to be a part of something. They're going to continue to add energy, continue to add power to every coin, which in essence will just continue to scale in the return that you can get on your investment, right? So that being said, this was Pete, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.